Hey guys, it's Mark from Migraine Professional. Today we're going to be talking about the thyroid, migraines, and headaches connection. My name is Mark. I help people understand the underlying and root causes from a functional, holistic perspective so that they can really understand what is going on behind all of the pain and the symptoms so they can get back to what matters most. Today, we're going to be breaking down the thyroid, how it connects to migraines and headaches. Then we're going to understand all of the mechanisms going on. We're going to understand how to interpret the causes, and then we are going to cover how to act, how to do and act upon all of that information. Now, the thyroid is this little gland that sits at the base of your throat. It is the master of metabolism, is one of your master glands. It is the master regulator of everything that has to do with your metabolism. And every single cell in your body has receptors for thyroid hormones. So it has an effect system-wide, right? It is not just a single system like your metabolism. It affects everything, and everything is affected by it. But it's also a very, very sensitive gland, so it is very responsive to changes because it has such a wide systemic impact. It has to for the body to be able to survive and adapt. The way we can think of the thyroid is as a thermostat or a gas pedal. The thermostat in our house, when we turn it up, just like when we turn the thyroid up, our house gets warmer, and when we turn up the thyroid, our body gets warmer. Same with the gas pedal. When we press the gas pedal in the car is going to go faster. When we press on our thyroid, it's going to go faster, and we are going to go faster, right? So the thyroid, it is really to do with speeding us up or slowing us down, warming us up or cooling us down, and all of the effects throughout the body that has. Now, there are a number of different connections between migraines and headaches and the thyroid because the thyroid is so responsible for metabolism in general, and then all of the systems it affects specifically. Now, some of the connections are, for example, hormones. Your thyroid, it releases hormones, but the hormones that it releases affect all of your other hormones, like your sex hormones, your testosterone, progesterone, and estrogen, and your stress hormones, like your cortisol and your adrenaline. So it is going to affect them. And that in turn is going to affect your ability to, regulate your menstrual cycles or deal with stresses. Then inside of metabolism, like we just talked about, the thyroid has a huge role in metabolism. And with migraines and headaches, metabolism plays a huge role because we have to be able to, make it between meals through proper metabolic regulation. We have to not trigger from missing meals or from skipping meals or from our blood sugar dropping. And we also have to be able to make it through the night and regulate, our body temperature and the changes to our environment. And that's really the next one, adapting to change. The thyroid is so important for adapting to change because it is so sensitive, because it is so responsive to what is going on in the environment, that when the thyroid is having issues, migraines and headaches, because they are so, the migraine brain is one that really wants to stay the same. So they share a lot of common themes there because the thyroid and migraines and headaches, they're both really to do with adaptations to change. And it's also connected to intolerances in the environment. So intolerances in the environment or to the environment, with thyroid, when you're slowed down or when you're cooled down, you cannot adapt to changes as quickly. And as we know with migraines and headaches, environmental and weather and barometric changes severely affect the migraine brain. There are some of the most common triggers to do with, lights and odors and the weather and barometric pressure. These are really, really common triggers, so we want to connect them there as well. Then, in terms of weight gain, the thyroid is one of the main reasons why weight becomes really, really stubborn to get off. Because the thyroid, it's protective. It is a very protective gland. And so when our body senses danger, it's going to slow down the thyroid. Our thyroid is going to slow down, and then we're going to hold on to more weight. Our metabolism isn't going to be as free with our weight, and we're going to hold on to some of that. And weight gain is a big risk factor for migraines and headaches. So we have to make sure that we are getting that under control. And then, of course, one of the main connections with thyroid issues, because the most common sort of connector and complication with thyroid issues is autoimmunity. It is one of the most common things that really affects the thyroid, because autoimmunity is the majority of thyroid conditions are autoimmune in nature, and migraines, headaches, chronic pain, and chronic illness in general, a lot of it has to do with autoimmunity and autoimmune conditions. So we have to make sure that we are properly dealing with the immune system, supporting the immune system in functioning properly, and then clearing up whatever is causing the immune system to be overactive or attacking itself or to be breaking down, causing so much mayhem. Then we want to understand what it is that is affecting our thyroid. Something as simple as estrogen, whether that be high estrogen levels in the body because of what's being secreted, high exogenous estrogens, like all of the things that are in our environment, estrogens from pharmaceuticals or hormonal therapies, birth control estrogens. These all, as estrogen increases, our steroid hormone binding globulin will increase. And as that increases, as that globulin increases, it actually binds on to the estrogen and other hormones so that they're not active, so that they're not doing things in the body. When they're in high levels, it's very protective. But if that is happening, then that steroid hormone binding globulin, SHBG, is also going to bind to thyroid hormones. So then it's going to prevent them from working and doing their job. Then the next thing is insulin. Insulin and high insulin levels or problems with insulin and weight gain and blood sugar issues that come with it are really one of the main factors that are behind the thyroid hormone's ability to function properly, along with cortisol. The way we think of cortisol is as a stress hormone. When cortisol is dysregulating, when we're under a lot of stress, that is going to affect the thyroid, because the thyroid is really mirrored with the cortisol's functioning in the body, because cortisol is a stress hormone, and the thyroid will, when the body senses that we are in danger, that we are in a dangerous environment, it is going to slow down its metabolism to protect itself, to hold on to energy, to hold on to extra weight, because that is energy, and that is going to be needed if there's some kind of danger in the environment, so that you can outlast it. But when cortisol is very, very high because of stressors or trauma or burnout or exhaustion or other lifestyle factors, then the body will sense danger, and then it'll slow itself down, inadvertently slowing down the thyroid and then causing issues from there. Then, of course, cytokines. Inflammatory cytokines are one of the main reasons that our body doesn't convert total thyroid hormones to active or free thyroid hormones, because when the body notices that there's inflammation, this stops the action of different enzymes that allow that conversion process to happen, which allows thyroid hormones to be activated and then be able to do their job. So getting to the root of what is causing inflammation, what is continuing inflammation in the body, and then helping to bring that inflammation down, that is super, super important to being able to address and support the thyroid, just as well as nutrients. The thyroid and hormones in general are very, very nutrient costly. They're made of nutrients. They need nutrients to function properly, to be made and to do their job. So we have to make sure nutrients like copper and selenium and tyrosine are in adequate amounts so that our thyroid is able to create the hormones that it needs to function properly. Now, there's also a connection called the HPT Axis. It is the hypothalamic pituitary thyroid axis, the communication between the brain and the thyroid. And so when the brain is not functioning properly, when it has problems with dopamine or with serotonin, things that are commonly looked at on an organic acids test, when there are dopamine or serotonin deficiencies, then that communication between the brain and the thyroid is going to be mixed up. There isn't going to be proper, clear communication. There isn't going to be proper secretion of those hormones. We're going to run into issues. Then, of course, progesterone, inside of the woman's cycle, in those second 14 days, those second 2 weeks after you ovulate, your progesterone should go sky high. It should completely eclipse estrogen, and this provides massive anti-inflammatory, calming, anti-anxiety benefits to the brain and the body, and it helps to really speed up the thyroid and bring up its functioning. When that's not happening, when progesterone levels aren't coming up, then we have a problem. Then the thyroid is not protected and it's not having that really good reset. It doesn't have that warm blanket to really help it do its job properly. Then, of course, like I touched on before, autoimmunity is really one of the main factors that are going to be affecting the thyroid. So we have to make sure that we are understanding why the immune system is so overactive, what is continuing it to be so overactive. We have to clear those out. We have to help support the immune system to be as strong as it can. And we have to see where else the issues are. Whenever we run into autoimmunity, we want to ask, where else is it? Because the body doesn't just lose self-tolerance in one area. The likelihood is that it's losing self-tolerance in a number of different areas, and it can be developing autoimmunity in other areas. So we want to make sure that we're seeing what else is going on. What's the landscape look like? Now, the third section is causes. We want to understand how this is going about, what is causing our body to do this. One of the most common things that will have happen if you suspect there are thyroid issues is you go to your doctor and you'll get a thyroid test. But often only TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, and total T4 are tested. But there are many other markers on a full thyroid panel that can be used to understand what is going on and how the body is taking thyroid hormones, converting them, activating them, and using them inside of the body. So understanding, what is the full range of thyroid hormones and what are they doing, that can help us understand if there is a problem and then what to do about it. Because oftentimes thyroid problems are not caught until they're very, very late. So we want to make sure that we get a jump on that. We catch it way beforehand. And of course, we want to understand the difference between optimal and reference. So normally a laboratory will base its reference ranges on the entire population that is tested. And so that includes many, many sick people. And so this means that the reference range will be very, very broad, and it will not be optimal. It will not be optimal for good functioning inside of the brain, inside of the gut. So we want to be very careful about understanding, is it optimal or are we just inside of the reference range? And then for really understanding the causes, we want to understand what are the symptoms that are going on. Is there weight gain? Is there fatigue and brain fog or depression or anxiety or the loss of hair, loss of the outer 2/3 of your eyebrows, or digestive complaints like just slow digestive capacity? You can't digest properly, lots of bloating, lots of digestive issues that aren't really resolving. Those are all really common symptoms that the thyroid is slowing down. So we might want to look into it. And you want to ask the question, have I been tested, but I have all of these symptoms? Maybe we can go back and take a look at that again, because these symptoms are really pointing to something going on with the thyroid. We just want to understand what it is. We want to understand if the thyroid is the primary thing or if there's something else contributing to it. We always want to look a little bit deeper, look at optimals, look at symptoms, and not just base things off a test where someone tells you that everything is fine, even though you feel horrible. The last thing, we want to act. We want to take some action. One of the most important tools and that we can have at our disposal to affect how our thyroid functions is our diet. Making sure that our diet is full of anti-inflammatory, healthy fats, healthy proteins, blood sugar balancing foods, that it has all of the nutrients to support a healthy thyroid, healthy hormonal functioning, healthy gut functioning is really, really important. So a whole foods diet provides that. A whole foods diet that is low in empty calories, that is high in nutrient density, really makes sure that our thyroid is supported well, which is the first step. And then we want to understand, one of the most common, because one of the most common sort of contributing factors to thyroid issues is autoimmunity, we want to understand that there are foods like gluten, which the body can inadvertently target. Let's say you're not breaking down gluten, it's getting through your leaky gut, and then your body is targeting that gluten. Well, gluten has proteins in it that look very, very similar to the thyroid. So if the body then sees that there's gluten in the bloodstream because you're not digesting it properly, it can go and inadvertently attack that gluten and then start to inadvertently start attacking the thyroid. And so this is one of the main sort of contributing factors, molecular mimicry with other foods like gluten, things like soy and corn are also common. You want to be careful. You want to see and sort of vet out your diet and see if there are inflammatory foods, if you're not digesting properly, if there are problems going on that can be then affecting your thyroid through the gut. Right? Then we want to understand, how are our thyroid levels? Are our vitamin D levels? Are our vitamin D levels high enough? We don't just want them in the reference range. We want them very, very high. We want them, inside of optimal. We want our vitamin D levels, because they control our immune system. We want vitamin D to be very, very strong. Everyone thinks, because of the nomenclature, that vitamin D is a vitamin, but that's actually wrong. Vitamin D is a steroid hormone. It is crucial for the functioning of the body, for the functioning of the immune system. We want to make sure that is very, very high. Same with things like glutathione levels. Glutathione is our body's master antioxidant. We want to make sure that we have really good, strong glutathione levels because it protects our thyroid. It protects our thyroid from damage. So we want to make sure that we have good glutathione levels. And of course, things like fish oils. We want to make sure that we have lots of really, really healthy fats in our diet, and fish oils really help to do that, providing EPA and DHA, which really help to balance the omega-3/6 ratio inside of the body. It's really, really anti-inflammatory. It really helps to support the regulation of the immune system, and it helps to fortify and build your cellular membranes, which are all made of fats. So we want to make sure that we are kind of taking a note and understanding, how is this connecting? Are there symptoms there? We want to understand, the causes behind what is going on instead of just jumping to a symptomatic approach. We want to work our way back, understand what are the root and underlying causes. We want to jump into those causes, how those are developing, how we can understand what is going on in the body with symptoms, with optimal ranges, and then we want to act on it appropriately. We want to support the immune system. We want to support the diet and the gut. We want to support hormones and stress levels, and we want to support all of those different things that are affecting the thyroid. And so I've written an article on the obstacles between thyroid and migraines and headaches and their functioning properly. It's going to be in the description below, so head on over there. If you want more information, you can check that out. And let me know in the comments below, do you have things that seem like thyroid issues? Do you fall into a lot of these symptoms? Have you been told that your thyroid is okay even though you have a lot of these different symptoms? Or have you had a diagnosis? Do you know that you have a thyroid condition and you're working on it? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. Thanks. Hey, it's Mark from migraineprofessional.com. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe in the bottom left corner, and if you want to learn more about migraines and headaches than you've ever known before, and understand what causes them, what creates them, and what you can do about them, make sure to go to migraineprofessional.com. Thanks.